everybody. This is James DeBow on Discovering Season 4, a special edition on original people. This is dedicated to original people. And I've got a guest on who I've had him on before. And he's been on Season 1, Season 2. And now he's back on Season 4. Welcome back, Abraham Ojapa, Yammtree.
Yeah. Big up, man. Now it's a pleasure to be back once again. I really like how you've done with the seasons and got on the right people, and everyone has contributed to our conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be back.
Definitely.
Once again.
I appreciate all your support as well, you know. And also an article done by Patrick Graham where you were in the Echo.
Yeah.
You know, promoting your business, and that was amazing. The health side of things and that, you know. Yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about that, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So Patrick said, because obviously Patrick's the community writer or editor, or I don't know the official title.
Yeah.
For the Liverpool Echo. So, he said that we need to do a little piece on me and my story and how I've come to be in this lifestyle, and I think he really was like wanting to know the vegan side of things, but I had to tell him that it's more to do with the health more than anything else. Vegan for me is just a trend thing, so it's more how are we eating the healthiest foods that we can have, or do we even know what the healthiest foods are? And so it was just more that article that I was trying to give thanks and giving thanks to where I got the information from. The article didn't go how I imagined it, but obviously the game's the game. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
it's a great read. I mean, but you were saying that there's stuff that people.
Yeah, so
mention.
Things got left out, and I think what it is when it comes to Dr. Sebi, and it is important. This is why I like coming on your platform, especially because it's that unfiltered, unedited, straight. No BS.
You don't
like,
have to fit the narrative of
don't have to
approval.
Bend a certain way, or we can't say that. Oh, that's a little bit too like. So with the Echo, I think the editors come in. Patrick gave the article, and the editors come in like 15 minutes later, and was like, "Oh no, we can't mention that." And it was the big thing that didn't get mentioned was Dr. Sebi. You can mention alkaline, which is mad because Dr. Sebi really popularized the term alkaline. He doesn't get the credit. All of these big green health products now use alkaline this, alkaline that, but he won't ever say where it's from. So I was giving thanks to Dr. Sebi and his book, a book not written by him, but written by a guy who spent he was with him for the last 2 years of his life, documenting his life. A guy called Mr. G, and he really Abelardo Guerrero. He wrote a book called My Journey with Dr. Sebi, and you can find that book on Amazon and all the platforms. You can find him on Instagram, and he really documented the last 2 years of his life. And it was prophesized, you know what I'm saying? Like, he really spoke about who the people he's healed, and how it all connects, who's who. The big names who Dr. Sebi healed, the names like Michael Jackson, the names like Steven Seagal, the names like Wendy Williams' family. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're names you don't really get to hear about because obviously they're in comfortable positions.
Yeah.
And the names didn't get mentioned, but it was clear to see who they were talking about. One of the big names was Magic Johnson. They said the big basketball player who had AIDS and come to Dr. Sebi. There was only one big basketball player who had AIDS and went to Dr. Sebi for healing. And the agreement was, if you heal me, I'll tell the whole world about you. Obviously, he didn't tell the whole world about Dr. Sebi because no one knew about Dr. Even though Magic Johnson was a big name in the 90s especially. And he broke the agreement, and so yes, he never even told the world he got healed. So I mean, I think people are still wondering to this day, has he still got it, hasn't he? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So with that article, it was really about giving thanks and giving the information. I even spoke about my nan and how she had cancer, and if I knew this information I knew now, then it'll be a different story altogether. And it changed my paradigm, and there was a lot of things left off. So I did post the article when it came out, but I didn't really post it too much because I think for a lot of the people who know me, they knew that there was a lot more I should have spoke about. So like I said, it's coming to discovering, and especially a season, as you've said, dedicated to the original peoples.
Original peoples, that's right.
Yeah, that's a bit of me. That's so.
Yeah.
So it was good to come here, and we can break it down, the information and everything.
Yeah,
else, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, when we dealing with original peoples, just same as we use another title as indigenous peoples, original peoples, first peoples, and as Pan African, and we have we go back and forth with other Pan Africanists, and we have like a little group there. Sometimes we go back and forth, and a lot of good information we pass around to each other, and this is how it's called sharpening the sword, isn't it? Keeping that knowledge strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and appreciate. But in the beginning of your journey now, when as far as even before the health side, just a knowledge of self.
Yeah.
From your own perspective, from growing up, whatever time in your life you started researching or whatever. Getting onto things, we get onto things just as we get older, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So what was your awakening? Would you say, growing up, it could have been at any point? Just
do you know what I'd say? I always had that pride of who I am. I think that was instilled from early from my parents.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have parents who had respect for Africa, my dad's African, so the respect was there. Regardless, I think, but I think from my mum's side the respect was there, but she was rebellious in that respect, because I think that a lot of the culture was, when she was growing up, which was African, was a bit like, ooh, like them Africans are a bit too this or too that, or
the stereotypes.
There was stereotypes attached. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's an awakening that's happened since then. But definitely when my mum was younger, like she was definitely almost ridiculed by family members, by friends, by everyone. It's like, he's actually African, like he's African, like my dad, you know what I'm saying? That was seen as a bit like untouchable, if you will. But I think that pride was there, knowing I'm Nigerian, but that African pride took a bit longer, I'd say, because obviously I went through the school system the same way, and we're told, oh, Africans, slavery and how primitive and uncivilized, and all these words that stick. People don't think these words actually stick. Like, as soon as you hear primitive and uncivilized, you think of one people. Do you get me? You think of the melanated people, because it's really been programmed in. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it was having to battle all of that nonsense. But I think naturally it was there, and I think that calling is there. I think we're born with that. We're born with that, like,
definitely. It's in our DNA. You just got to activate it.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I think it's some people's job to activate it in others, which I think you're really good at. I think.
Oh yeah, try and do my best.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I think when people see you as an example of someone who's truly unapologetic about the indigenous and upholding the people who came before us, I think it activates it in other people to really show respect for that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's always trying to get to that beginning thing, and it goes back to original people, it goes back to the indigenous peoples. And I mean, my journey for me is like, Nigerian and Caribbean. So obviously we know what we get with Nigerian, the Caribbean, like you say. We have there will be some stereotypes in there sometimes, how people might see Africa. The same way could be in America, could be anywhere where our people are. If you've never been to Africa, sometimes they might have their own idea of what it's like.
Exactly.
I mean, I was just happy to get to the African continent and then seeing it for myself, especially when I went into what they call sub-Saharan Africa. And my first trip was to Gambia, because I'd visited the North Morocco, but I wanted to get deep into West Africa and then Kenya. Then I wanted to go to Zanzibar, Madagascar, and even Mauritius. Mauritius is Africa. People don't see this is what I'm saying when we're going back to original people, original migrations, first people to populate any part of the planet. Do you get what I'm saying? And then we can go really deep with our research, because there's people who deal with like just only scholarship level,
Yeah.
which sometimes that's good, but it can also, we need to add on to that,
Yeah.
and we need to question that,
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than just accept it and say, well, we need white approval.
Yeah.
He said it's right, so it must be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I'm not with that.
Nah, of
and this
course.
is where oral history takes over that.
It does.
It's too. This is what I mean. It's so intact, oral history. Wherever you go, I can meet people from the Fiji Islands. They supposedly, Fiji was inhabited 3,500 years ago, 1500 BC, and they say they came from Lake Tanganyika in East Africa. So, I interviewed a few people when I was there. I also got to meet the chiefs, the warrior, the spokesman, and other tribal leaders, and they had me in the room the next day. I remember I was just speaking to them for about an hour. We drunk kava. Kava. Have you ever heard the kava plant?
Yeah.
We drink, and it's like makes you a bit lightheaded. It's like a ritual, a ceremony,
Right.
you know.
It's
So
like fermented fruit. So is it a bit alcoholic? Is it
alcoholic?
Is it fermented or?
It's kind of like you mix it with water, and it looks like mud.
Okay.
You know, it's from this because you can have different forms of it. I think you can have the powder form,
okay,
or you can have the natural.
Right.
But I think that to do it properly, you've got to leave it for at least about a month.
Okay, so it
preserve it.
Okay, so it ferments. So maybe it's got a little bit of because the fermentation process, after the fruit ferments, it becomes alcohol, and then if you leave it again, it becomes vinegar. And I think it sounds a bit like that, and it's all great, honestly. Like, I think having the actual information come from the people it's supposed to come from, rather than, because many a time, man, we're told, like even growing up, we're told Africa's like this, and like you said, until you've actually been there, you know that, you know, from the people themselves, the oral history of what it's really like, because it's so easy to rest on what we've known and say, oh, we've come this far as a civilization, and it's like, no, we haven't. It's like, we've actually went backwards for a little bit. Like,
that's right.
We were on our way, and then we went backwards because lies started being told.
Yeah.
And the scholars weren't really trustworthy. So the new scholars are basing their work on the old scholars. So you can't base truth on lies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to come from the truth, and what better source of the truth than the motherland, you know what I'm saying, and the indigenous people who've been there.
Well, I like, even though I listen to scholars sometimes, I also like listen to practitioners, because, and there's a kind of a clash with them.
Yeah.
The clash, like, where even a lot of people in the Kemetic community, some of them are only scholar, but some of them are into being the priesthood. You know, some people don't want to go near that. They say, oh, that's a bit funny, that ancient Egypt. And people have their own different views. But to me, when I analyse it, because we have African culture anyway, you go down into what they call sub-Saharan Africa, that will be more orally deeper than Egypt.
Yeah, of course.
The more further you go down. And even when they talk about who built the pyramids, it was people who came from other parts of Africa.
Yeah, of course.
All over Africa. And this is before the Sahara Desert, you know, because the Bantu tribes are so underrated. And when we listen from a European perspective, he only wants you to know they went here, here, and here.
Of course.
But they were all over Africa.
Everywhere, isn't it?
Even ancient Kemet, there's linguistics that tie Niger Congo to ancient Kemet.
Yeah.
Even like the Yoruba talk about their connection. Probably nearly every tribe in Nigeria talks about connection to Kemet or Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah.
There's always, this is what I'm saying, we go back to original people. We can deal with like the Middle East, what they call the Middle East, which is Africa, original people before. Turks came, and other peoples came.
The Middle East don't exist. I think, like, you're either African or you're not, and I think it's even when you go back to biblical times, was Israel African, and then it became different, or I don't know, but I think what's true is that the African peoples definitely set up civilization in every part of the world. And we just don't get the credit that we're due, man. And it's a shame, really, because even back to the, I always have a saying, like, I mean, ancient moods require ancient food. So it's like we if we want to be able to think as how we thought back then and to build these things, because this is coming from the mound builders, isn't it? The people who really built even when the
Olmecs or
the Olmecs, whoever, they all had this. And if you look at these specific places, they're very rich in herbs and fruits and plants, which are medicinal, which get you thinking differently. And them foods often getting forgotten about. We remember the pyramids, we remember the people, but we don't remember the foods they ate. And I think that's really important. The foods they ate, to get thinking even a fraction of how they did. We need to be eating the foods they did. You know what I'm saying?
Well, health is really underrated in this day and age. What we're dealing with, anything outside of the ancient traditional people where they live. Doesn't matter if us as original people, health we're really underrated. We're this tastes nice. That's sometimes the taste rather than what is really good for you.
But do you know what? It's true. But the nicest fruits they're usually medicinal. Like but there's a difference, because I think some foods, like for example lemon, like obviously lemon is a hybridized fruit. It's come from a citron, which is an ancient fruit, one of the ancient citrus fruits, and a sour orange, which again has been hybridized. From other fruit again, from like a mandarin and a pomelo, I believe it is. But to create a lemon, they've crossed the hybrid with its original parents. So there's even in the plant kingdom, there's that in order to push a civilization forward, there needs to be that return back to its mother or its ancestor in order to go forward and bring forth a new fruit. So all these different hybrids, you got limes, you got lemons, you got grapefruits, which are the original what we consider the citrus fruits. They've all had to, in order to be created, a hybrid has had to come back to its original fruit. And there's a lot of the time we don't know this, for good reason, because people lose money. Like when Dr. Sebi's name gets mentioned anyway, people lose money. Pharmaceuticals lose money. The doctors lose money. The NHS loses money. The nutritionists lose money. All these places lose money
every time someone wakes up.
Do you know what I'm saying? When someone wakes up and because to eat baobab every day, you don't need to consult your doctor. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to get an education. You don't need to work for this person in order to get the best healthcare. You just eat baobab. You just go to the tree and eat the baobab. Do you know what I'm saying? You cut out everyone who could possibly make money from and just go direct. And baobab as a fruit, it's got the most antioxidants in the world. It's got the most insoluble fiber. So it's actually what they call a prebiotic. What they call prebiotic. So it feeds the gut flora, feeds the good bacteria in the body. More than anything else, inulin is what's used at the minute. When they say prebiotics, they use inulin, which is like a fiber. But baobab has got more of it in. I think it's something like 80%. So it's any mind problems, any heart problems, any issues to do with the body, baobab is a really, really, really good fruit for it.
What does it look like?
So the baobab looks like. So I've put it out on my Instagram at the minute, Yammtree. I've put a photo of each of the fruits and how they relate to certain parts of the body, and the baobab actually looks like a lung. So it has the different parts and it has the different fruits, and the fruit actually is like a powder already, so it doesn't need to be processed a lot. And it's been used from Ethiopia to Nigeria to South Africa. They all use the baobab. Like all of them know what the baobab is.
Do you know where it's indigenous to? Only because sometimes it could be a part of Africa, but people trade anyway. You know, and then things are coming from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I was watching even bananas were introduced to Africa from Indonesia.
See.
And that would have been a Bantu, Austronesian connection, because they got to Madagascar, the Bantu. And they also came to Madagascar. So I can sort of see like traces of things and that. I mean, like you say, the stuff there, I was drinking merengue tea. And when I went to Gambia, I went to a friend's house there. I knew someone there. They lived by the bush though, but like not in the tourist area. So I'll go into the house, and then in the front garden, I'll just so big when you buy land there. And he grows that merengue leaves.
Merengue leaves.
And I brought a load back with me.
Okay.
You're allowed to bring some back, and you just boil water with it, and then that's it. Maybe you want to have honey, or you want to have, and it just clears you out. And I've been having it for like quite a while now. I need to have it more often, but it's perfect if you're not well.
Definitely.
There's a lot of people sick in these winter times.
Boy, it's different.
It's
different, especially now. I think we do need to, and it's like, it's remembering we are the original peoples, and it's like, don't be unapologetic about that. I mean, don't be apologetic about that, being the original peoples, because you need to be more on it than everyone else. Because if you're not, then you're not, you're gonna suffer health problems. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen if you aren't eating the diet that your ancestors ate, because that's in your DNA. Then
so true.
That's how we get junk DNA from junk food. Do you know what I'm saying? We get DNA that switches off because it can no longer sustain itself. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's really recognizing that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not waiting for the health trend. It's like, oh, have you seen this new superfood that's trendy and everything else? It's like, no, these foods have been eaten by the people for as long as the people have been there, and before that, these foods actually have been there for millennia. Do you know what I'm saying? They've been there for more time than we've been there.
I like how you put it. I like how you put it. It's people using veganism as a trend. And not recognizing the health side of it. And I think I had this conversation with you last time. And people use a lot of things in trend, like we were talking. Remember last time, spirituality. Some people I don't know. They think it's like someone might go to a country and they seen a Buddha temple, and then they're so fascinated. It's just all about Buddha, and they don't even know nothing about Buddha. They don't know nothing about Buddhism was the connection to Hinduism. They don't know about Buddha is an African philosophy. You know, Hinduism came out of Africa too. They worship the same god as Ethiopia.
Exactly.
Later, when the caste system come in, that's when you get the new Hinduism. With its like color coded and stuff. Because I've heard people talk about racism only existed in the last 500 years, where this is not this is where you're going back to scholarship again, where people just concentrate only on that. According to the Rig Veda in ancient India, the Aryans came in about 1500 BC, maybe even 2000 BC, because there's different dates, and they came in warlike people and came on horses, and they basically attacked the Dravidians and the original peoples, attacked the whole culture, and then interbred with so many. Then he decided this is going to be a ruling class. Then he started seeing different complexions. And then even though we've got like 1200 BC, you know, the way we talk about these different prophets coming at different times, they talk about Krishna to 1200 BC. You know, then 600 years later, Buddha, you know, he's around about 500 and something BC, close to 600. And then 600 later, Jesus. 600 years later, Muhammad. And it's just this pattern. And then you can go even before Krishna and all that. You'll see something in Mesopotamia. You'll see stuff in Egypt. It's all connected. And you can see who is the source of the information. Definitely original people coming out of Africa.
Definitely.
And speaking to Zabdi, last time when Zabdi was on, we were talking about a lot about the Asiatic black man. And obviously we were able to connect with that. I mean, because some people, when I first heard Asiatic black man, Mr. Wu-Tang Clan, I didn't understand too much. You put your own imagination to it.
Of course.
But then through research and seeing like Africa's the source, and they spread right into Asia and give China, India, and all the rest of these civilization. Even in Cambodia, you go to the Bayon temples, you see huge African faces. And you see this, see when we see dates, they say the Bayan temples and Angkor Wat, like the 1200 odd ADs, which they say the 13th century or something. So I've looked at other people talking about it also, saying that it's way older.
Yeah.
Angkor Wat's older.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think a lot of these places, when people come to these places afterwards, they recognized that stuff had been built thousands of years before and added to that. Do you know what I'm saying? That it was that adding to what had been laid down. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that
also makes
key.
sense, because they're supposed to be Buddha temples in Cambodia, but Hinduism was there even before. Now, when you notice things like jewelry, Buddha's not about materialism. So they're looking sometimes at, I don't know, that's like, and also four heads on some of the temples. You don't really notice that with Buddha usually. It's usually Hinduism. So
different heads.
Hinduism got to there anyway, and then it's like what you've just said. That makes a lot of sense, where people are building over stuff.
Exactly.
Which makes sense.
Exactly. And I think when I was in Granada. Was it Granada? Or it might have been, no, it wasn't Granada, it was Malaga. And I was there, and it's funny because you don't really associate that with Black history. Malaga especially. I think when I first heard Malaga, I think beaches and just partying, do you know what I'm saying? So going there on a different level, and seeing that there was the one built by the Moors, which will have been any time from the
711 ADs
to 1492. So that was built there, but then when you go further up the hill now, you've got the castle built by the Phoenicians, do you know what I'm saying, which come a lot earlier. But if you don't go further up or further back into the history,
well, it's too much for some people. You only like to go to a certain point,
and you think black people only showed up in Spain when as Muslims, as the Moors. You know what I'm saying? That's the understanding.
And even Carthage, you know, because Carthage was like before, way before 711, like BC times and that. Carthage, Hannibal. They don't like to depict Hannibal that he was a black man. They make out the Carthaginians with some sort of Eurasian mix. Just the same thing as what they did with Egypt.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but this is the thing, like, I mean, we've got to know who the migrations, we've got to know who was in these lands. It's like when we talk about Israel, I'm thinking of the Canaanites as black peoples, the original peoples.
Of course, yeah.
Do you know what I'm
saying? That's what it was, the Canaanites.
Some people say Semites, but the Canaanites are how they were described as black people. Do you know what I mean?
And that even says it in the Bible. The Canaanites. That's what it calls them, the Canaanites. And Israel comes later. But even touching on that culture, like how we talked about the citron and the lemon, that's being the ancestor of the lemon. Well, the Hebrew tradition still to this day, every year on the Sukkot festival, which is celebrated in October, I believe. They use the citron, they use the myrtle, they use the palm, and they use the cedar tree. But they use all these plants, which are original plants, and it's by no coincidence that they use these. And you got the citron, which is more medicinal than a lot of different fruits. You got the myrtle, which is like, I mean, a lot of people ain't heard of myrtle. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know about Manuka honey, but in Australia, you've got a certain type of myrtle, and the myrtle is from the same family as the clove and allspice. It all comes from the same family. I think it's all myrrh to say. But in Australia, you've got this type of myrtle now, and they've actually come to discover when bees feed on this myrtle flower and produce honey, it's the most medicinal, antimicrobial honey you could ever produce. So this has come from a plant that nobody knows exists. Like nobody knows about. It's explained in the Bible and in the holy books. But if I go to these religious people and ask them, do you eat citron? You claim to be the original 12 tribes, but do you eat what the Jews ate? Do you eat their food? They don't, man. They might slaughter the animal, but they don't eat the foods which are who were actually mandatory in the religious festivals. Like you have to have a citron, you have to have a myrtle branch, otherwise the festival can't run how you think it runs. So why are these specific ones? Because the myrtle, it's got something called miracetin in, which is the same compound that's in walnuts and in other foods, which actually protect the brain and reduce chances of getting dementia and Alzheimer's. I mean, people are saying, our elders say it all the time, oh yeah, I'm getting old, my mind's going. Yeah, because we're not eating our original foods. Like, we need to eat the, it's called Jewish meal. Like, that's a name for it. But it was actually eaten by the Moors in Spain. It was eaten all over the world. In fact, when I said about Australia, the myrtle in Australia, they call it bush tucker or whatever.
With the Aborigines.
The Aborigines food. The Aborigines were eating it, and it's a type of, it's called cinnamon myrtle or lemon sort of myrtle, and they were using it as a spice before.
Well, Ranoko Rashidi was saying that, you know, he's travelled 125 countries. He was saying that the Aborigine Australians, he believes that they're probably the most spiritual people in the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very not surprised, because I always look at Africa like as that. But maybe he means because of the when somewhere is a bit more secluded. Yeah. Like, not saying people didn't know about Australia in ancient times, but there could have been the times that the first black people that got there were left alone until later waves came. Because I know people from India came to Australia about 4,000 years ago. Okay. And mixed with some Aborigine Australians. Right. So that's, some of them have looser hair, some of them have tighter hair. Of course. Because I noticed that in Australia. And even when I went to, because I went to Sydney, and I wanted to meet as many Aborigines, and there's not as many in Sydney like if I went to the north. And at the time, it was too far to drive to the north at this particular time. Yeah. And I went to an Aboriginal theatre, and getting ready to go on the stage now, and you can see them they're just in the hallway about to perform. So I'm happy, thinking, I'm going to see some Aborigines here and like see a bit of the culture. So now it looks and I'm seeing, well, two of them were white guys, and one of them was a brother. Okay. Just one of them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I had to get up straight away, and I walked straight towards them, and I said to him, excuse me, are you going to be doing the show today? You free? Yeah. He went, yeah. So straight away I got wound up, and I just speak my mind, because I know what I've came to see. Exactly. So I said, well, I'm not being funny, nothing, but I look more Aboriginal than these two people you've got with you. You know, just, you know, so I said, he said, no, and then they said, no, we are Aborigines, but through down the line they mixed, and like they just didn't look just like Europeans. Yeah, that's it. And they start eating like Europeans, and that's the problem in it. You know what I'm saying? They eat what the European eats, and it's nothing to do with racism, and it's nothing to do with separatism. This is not what we're talking here. This is like, that's eat foods which support your genetic makeup, otherwise you'll lose that. But like, definitely. So the myrtle berry, as I was talking about, it's a black berry. It's so black, especially the Australian one. And if you look at the original Australian people, they're defined by like you say, some of them have got loose curls, but the defining trait is that blackness of the skin. Do you know what I'm saying? That deep dark blackness. Yeah. And that's a trait that's synonymous with the original peoples, I'd say. And if you look like nature tells it all. Do you know what I'm saying? Nature tells it all. I also, in the picture that I posted the other day, you've got the bilberry, which is the wild blueberry. We all eat the hybridized blueberries at the minute. Blueberries are alright, but it's the wild blueberry is what we should be eating. Okay. But if you look at the blueberry, it looks like an eye. Like, if you look at it, hopefully we can get some pictures for people to see a representation of some of these fruits that we're talking about. Definitely. So people know where to go and what to see. But it looks like a blue eye. So the wild blueberry looks like a blue eye. And what's so interesting is, for eye health, there's no other fruit which protects your eyes more than this wild blueberry, also called the bilberry. There's no other fruit that protects your eyes like these. Wow.
And what's even more interesting, and because this is the thing about being melanated, the ability to go deeper onto a subject that seems so simple, to go deeper. And if you look at blue eyes, they're more likely to suffer from macular degeneration, which is when your eyes start to break down, you start needing glasses, you can't see as far, all of that.
Yeah.
It's when you have blue eyes, you're more likely to need glasses. That's not me saying, oh, people with blue eyes have got weaker eyes. That's just science. That's just facts of what it is.
I'll tell you what's quite funny when you say that. You know, sometimes there could be people there who get cataracts as they get older.
Exactly.
So they might even have had brown eyes, but
Exactly.
then they go to blue.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Older people the eyes go a bit blue.
It's exactly, do you know what I'm saying? The pigments in the eyes are being weakened by the free radicals, by all the toxins. Because you understand, the blood vessels in the eyes are more affected by toxins first, because the blood vessels are a lot thinner. So like people who've got diabetes, the first thing to go is the eyes. Because the eyes are, so you start getting, we need glasses. If a kid needs glasses, cut out the sugar and see if they need glasses as much. But just to go a bit further on the whole blue eye concept, when you look at the symbol of evil eye, like I was speaking to someone recently, a lot of traditions have this whole thing about evil eye, and you got to keep the blue eye to ward yourself off from evil eye. But the best way to protect yourself against evil eye is to be able to see clearly. Because if you can see who's jealous of you, then you'll just avoid them people. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't need this amulet or this pendant or whatever to protect you from evil eye. You just need to be able to see them clearly, to know who's real and who's a fake, and who really just wants to be around you to profit off you or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's having that good eyesight which is going to protect you. And it's funny that it is a blue eye, which is what they call the evil eye. Do you know what I'm saying? So with these foods, have got all the answers for us. Like, nature always provides a way to show us what we should be doing. Do you know what I mean? The truth. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why even all we needed was the oral history, because the language was written in nature. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't need the books as much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And it's indigenous to the rainforest in Brazil. I mean, some people, like, maybe they don't do it properly. What's your view on it? Like, ayahuasca, is that something that you think, well, something that you shouldn't touch, or it's something that maybe you got to be prepared to actually? Because some people I've watched some people on YouTube, and he said everything has been revealed to them, and some of the stuff is like what they was able to learn in those little hour, 2 hours was like a lifetime of learning, and you know, I mean,
do you know what I think it's good, and it's the same with mushrooms. I feel like if there is some trauma, deep childhood trauma that you can't really access yourself, then maybe use something like that to do that. To alter your mind in that way, to access it, to think differently. I think maybe do that, but I haven't personally tried it. I've had something similar which didn't really, it didn't have the effect that it has for other people.
Okay,
I would try it maybe in the future. I've spoken to people who said don't try it because it releases some demonic forces and all that. Yeah. I've heard I've heard some mad stories about it, but I would say, if you're gonna, so if you come from a traumatic environment, remove all the trauma, and if you still feel that the answers need to be, then maybe try something. But start by removing the trauma. And what I mean by trauma is like stress, high stressful situations. Eating sugar 4 or 5 times a day, which a lot of people do, because you've got your breakfast, you've got your honey, or there's your sugar. You have your by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, before dinner, you have your tea, which has got sugar in again. You have your dinner now, which has got sugar in again. The tomato sauce or whatever it is, sugar in again. You have your little snack after your lunch, which is probably a little chocolate bar, even a piece of hybridized fruit. You got your sugar again. You have your dinner about 3-4 o'clock, wherever it is. Again, got sauce on there, got some bread or whatever it is. There's your sugar again. You have your tea. There's so much sugar being ingested in its drug form. What I mean by drug is that something's been extracted. It's not the whole of something. It's been extracted, so it becomes a drug. So that's a high stressful situation every day, because sugar is the biggest stressor. So if that's being done every day, that's trauma, man. That's what you call trauma. If you experience a lot of stress every day, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we remove that, then we can have a conversation if we need to get into ayahuasca or another or mushrooms.
I've
whatever.
seen something about if you're in the wrong mood, like you said, if you're carrying trauma, stress, that's going to affect you when you're taking that. Then there was another one I looked at where, because a lot of people I was watching, just on YouTube, and you go on like that, and then a lot of them were the European people. So I found one brother who had it, because I wanted to see maybe people who are melanated might react different to it. Like we were talking about, it's in our DNA and stuff. Just like probably any drug, it's different. People, they say, can react differently to it. So and also back to the original peoples and that. And we always look and think, well, we were the beginning. What happened to us? Where did we fall? Where did we go wrong? And some people started from the transatlantic slave trade. But much more deeper than that. It starts from what we were saying about original people all over the world. Europe, Asia, the Pacific, Africa, South America, Americas. Then you think, well, what made us fall? Then it starts off in Asia, really, because the black empires that we took from ancient Africa into Asia and Europe, if you start looking at the Indo-European migrations, you look at India, 1500 BC, that gets hit by the Aryans, Indo-European branch. You see later on, China gets attacked, northern China, where there was a black the Shang dynasty there. And then people wonder, well, how did these new races come? Like, how come there's so many people in China, for example? And obviously, it's much more deeper than that, where it's like, most of us would have either got chased out into Southeast Asia, or they escaped whatever way, maybe to India, but there's a lot of like missing links, but it seems like there's been collaborative forces to bring down black empires from ancient times. Indo-European, Mongoloids, Turks. Even like the Hellenistic period, where there was black people in Greece originally, and Italy, these places. Then around 1200 BC, you get these invasions, Indo-Europeans, and they've conquered these black empires. So that's obviously a beginning bit where we're falling. First of all, our empires outside of Africa are getting conquered. Eventually, they're going to come into Africa. Now, there's you can go really deep, and you can look at the pros, the cons. You can look at like stuff like, well, did some of our own people sell us out when they were going into Asia? And this is possibilities. People can, like, how greed, people can be manipulated, or maybe like what we brought in through 100% spirituality can get, well, look at Hinduism, how that went. I mean, not of them as pure as the African.
That's it. And I think it's found, you can see it in nature, and it's like, that quest for survival. And I think if we do lose something, like if we do lose our melanin and our ability to think as clear as we once did, and to conceptualize quicker and to see more clearly, I think when we're around those who are still able to do that breeds that jealousy. Do you know what I'm saying? And does go back to the evil eye concept of like, if your eyes suddenly become blue and you can't see as clear, then you're gonna be like, I wish I could see as clearly as I once did, or I wish I could see as clearly as my parents or my cousins or whatever. So that breeds that jealousy. It's like, if I can't, then you can't. Do you know what I'm saying? If my melanin's going, or if my ability to even experience emotions now is not as powerful as it once did, then I don't want you to have it either. So I think that's where it comes from. And I think when we divert from our original diets, like the original foods, we're more likely to suffer from them mutations, and then mutations breeds that inferiority and that inferiority complex that comes with it of, well, I don't want none of you to have it. If we can't, do you know what I'm saying? If I burn in the sun, then I'm gonna control the weather to where no one's getting the sun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's it's that whole concept, and we can't be scared to try and see where that comes from, because I think a lot of the time we're like, you know what, we should just focus on ourselves and not try and understand where these things come from. But it's like it does come from a deep rooted jealousy, and I think that happens when we're no longer as good as what we were. It's like the whole, if you're older now, oh, you young ones have got it easy, and yeah, I wish, like, there's that whole jealousy, like, of I wish I was young again.
Yeah.
And you don't feel you don't feel that empathy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even when it was like the whole pandemic, let's talk about it. It was still in it. Do you know what I'm saying? That whole, oh yeah, it doesn't matter about you young ones. You've got immune systems to fight us, but what about us? And it ain't even about that. It's like, yo,
we had our fun when we were younger, so
do you know what I'm saying?
They like the same, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? And I think if we talked about the start of the pandemic, so-called pandemic, a lot of elders would have voted for the vaccine passports or whatever. They would have been like, yeah, let's do the vaccine passport, the same way of Brexit. Do you get me? A lot of elders would have said, yes, let's do it, to where everyone has a vaccine passport to travel. But now that it's here, it's like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
nah, like, we can't actually travel with it. Then it's like, it's different now. But it's like, I think like, where we fall is when we lose empathy for other people.
That's right.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think
human rights.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it becomes greed, and it becomes of what can I have?
Yeah.
But I think we come into this life of what can I give? Like, but I think we know we're eternal, because if we think that we've only got this short little bit of life, it's like, what can I get while I'm here? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like that whole, do you remember that show where they used to have like a shopping thing, and you'd go in the supermarket for a minute and you put everything in your basket, do you know what I'm saying? You just grab everything and you're like, what can I get while I'm here? Because it's only for a short period of time. But if you know after that show is finished, you can have whatever you want. You're not going to be asked about grabbing things. You're just going to be like, I'll just take this. And you more so, you're going to be what you're going to be thinking is, what can I give while I'm here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? While I'm in this space, what can I give? Because after this, it's pure abundance. It's pure light. It's pure love. What can I give while I'm here that I don't need? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're here to do, give. But it's this whole greed mindset which has been passed down from the top. Like, the world leaders of today are all greedy bastards. You know what I'm saying? So if we want to get to the top, and we're like, oh, we need to be like them, we need to be the top 1% of wealthy or whatever else, then we're going to think in greed and
selfishness.
Do you know what I'm saying? Selfishness, jealousy of what everyone else has got.
Yeah.
And that's going to breed, and that's where we get the coon. That's where we get the traitors. That's where we get everyone else, because they're not going to think about pride and tribes and families. They're going to think of every man for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like the Moors, like 7-Eleven. Even though the Moors went 7-Eleven, same Moors that got expelled in 1491 are not the same peoples. It's not that same mentality for being in Spain for 700 or something odd years. You know what I'm saying?
Because they come to Spain of what can I give to this place? Which is,
that was the mentality.
People are living in pure. I mean, Europe back then was pure. Boy, they didn't know how to live. So
got too comfortable there.
You know what I'm saying? We got comfortable, and we was like, yo, what can we give? What can we give? We
got conquered.
And do you know what I'm saying? Like, and we stopped actually valuing what we had, and started being greedy, and started falling into the ways of the people who were out there. Do you know what I'm saying? Just want to touch a little bit on the Moors and how it was just something that come to me today, and how certain places still today, you've got like Sardinia.
Oh yeah.
Is it Sardinia where they got the Moor heads? They've got the blackheads. Is it, or is it?
Sardinia that's Italy, is it? Or an island of Italy.
The island of Italy.
Sardinia,
because you've got the Sardinia, you've got Corsica, and there's another one. But what I wanted to touch on, the fact that, you know, the picture of the 4 blackheads with the bandanas on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we posted it in the group not too long ago.
Right.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that because I feel like that was a symbol of how great a place was. And I think, because if you go back, if you look at J.A. Rogers, Nature Knows No Colour Line, there's a whole 3 pages, where of each country, Germany, all of that, they show the family crests. And all these family crests have got more heads on. They've got the Moor, which is the black man, on the flag. That was a symbol of pride. That was a symbol of this is where we come from. Do you know what I'm saying? And even today, you've got the Britain with even when they're going out to battle. Or
you see all this like coat of arms.
The coat of arms, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The coat of arms. They've got the armour. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've got the man in the armour. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's recognising the language. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
The
subliminal, very subliminal though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Like, it's, even though it can be in your face, but people just don't. You just don't click unless you've learnt about it or something, studied it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like even how they use today, they use the lions, like the England use the lions, they use the 3 lions, you know what I'm saying? That's a symbol of who we are, not to be messed with. The lions, you know what I'm saying? So how it's used today, that's how we were viewed. That's how we were viewed. So when they had the clans in England or the British Isles, and this clan had the Moor head on, it was like, yo, this is where we come from. Like, don't mess with us, you know what I'm saying? But it gets whitewashed and it's like, oh, it means this and it means that. It's like, no, it was a symbol of honour and pride of this is where we come from. Yeah, we might have lighter skin now, but this is where we come from.
Yeah.
So this is what the original peoples is about. And I feel like
Definitely.
this is what you're doing. You're giving honour to, look, this is where we come from. This is our ancestors.
Yeah.
And that's a symbol of pride. Do you know what I'm saying? That's not a symbol of oh, we need to help them, and how pictures of dark people are plastered. It was like, oh, look at this poster child or whatever. It's not like that. It's more like, yo, this is a
Much
symbol
more
of,
deeper.
yeah, it's a symbol of where we come from and who we are, and the values that they've got. These are the same values that have been passed down. So that's what it was with the coat of arms. I wonder how many Liverpool families called Moore and Morris and all of that, how many of them used to have a black man as their coat of arms. You know what I mean? I wonder. I really do wonder, because even in a place like Liverpool, which is probably one of the more racist of the cities, the big cities in England, I wonder how many black men really laid foundations.
Even like when I went to see Akala, he came here 2015 in the museum, Liverpool, by the dock. And he was giving a lecture on African presence in England, Britain, and that was 3,000 years ago. Now, it was good that he was giving a lecture about that. And also, there was the next day on the radio, that was quite funny actually, they mentioned the same thing as what he was talking about.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes, they mentioned did Africans come to Britain 3,000 years ago. Now, what they did on the radio, they went from North Africa instead of just saying Africa.
Yeah.
So what they've done is because sometimes people someone could pick up on this podcast we're talking about, next minute they want to borrow the knowledge, change it a bit, and act like they went and researched and done these things themselves.
That's it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's it. No, it is.
So
and
that's why I'll have to be like clear sometimes, and like, you know, I talk how I talk.
Yeah.
You talk how you talk.
Of course.
You know when someone trying to imitate or something.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think,
do you know what I mean?
Boy, the imitation's been there from early. And even touching more on the Moors and everything else, like, yo, like, we can call it what you like, but there was a time when people weren't called Mr. and Mrs. Like, you got to look at take out the vowels, because the vowels are interchangeable. A mayor is a Moor, is a Mod, is a Muir. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but MR is there. Do you know what I'm saying? And then when the woman gets married, she's Mrs. now. So it's like that was taken from a people who use that. They would say, "Yo, instead of what's happening, brother," it'll be like it's happening more. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was times when this was common, because you got to think black. The term black, it's a very new word.
Yeah.
Negro. I mean, I've said to this before. I'm like, yo,
That's Spanish Negro.
I say
as well.
to people, yo,
Portuguese.
if you're gonna call me black, if you're gonna say black, there's no problem with the word nigger. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have a problem with the word nigger and not black.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And
That's true.
what's interesting is the whole with Uncle Ben. I've seen this recently, and how instead of saying Mr., because they didn't want to say Mr. MR, and whether it was always said Mr. or whether it was said more, I don't know. But what was said with Uncle Ben's, they've now called it original Ben's rice. It's no longer Uncle Ben's rice.
Oh, they were the original too.
Exactly.
Excellent.
The original, but it's back to the original. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the reason why it was seen as racist, because white men would call black men uncle to avoid calling them Mister. So that they didn't have to say Mr. MR. They would call them uncle. So that became a derogatory term.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Now it's commonplace. Now we say uncle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
More time we were saying baba or father, or, do you know what I'm saying? Papa or baba. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Baba's the more original. This is what we want, baba. Do you know what I'm saying? That was a title, baba. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, look at the baobab. The baobab. That's it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These words are so interchangeable, but to the simple mind, you might think, right, you're finding connections that don't connect. You're just forcing connections. But look,
because you know what it was. I was watching a lecture the other day, and it was religious people speaking on it, and they were kind of insulting people who talk to trees. But it was done in a way where it was, well, ignore this ancient way, you know, of recognizing everything has a soul. You know, you can communicate with a tree, but if someone seen one of us talking to a tree, they'll think you're mad.
Exactly.
But they don't know that. But then if someone from that village seen you talking for the tree, you think, oh, you know what? He's just communicating spiritually.
And the teaching was done under the tree.
Yeah.
So I'm saying under the baobab. So you got to think the baobab tree, for those who listen and think on baobab, Ozzy just brought it to the tree. The tree of life you see in the Avatar, or the tree of souls, is the baobab tree. The tree of life you see in the Lion King is the baobab tree. Do you know what I'm saying? Like James just made that connection. It's back to the tree when we're talking about baobab and the word baba.
Yeah.
Like the baba is also the teacher. The father is the teacher, which is, he would do his teaching in Africa under the baobab tree. Do you know what I'm saying? And now we call babies baba. But it traditionally, the baba, it is, because that son is eventually going to become a father. So you would call the baby baba, just as you call the little baby. You hear it with black mums all the time. Oh, mama. You call the little daughter mama. Do you know what I'm saying? The mama and the baba. These are ancient terms, but now we say baba. Like I said to Miguel, like, I want my son to call me baba. And she'd be like, baba? I was like, no, baba just means papa. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the B is the P. Do you know what I'm saying? And one thing, big up to Sabir Bey. I like to big him up because I follow his style of teaching is so raw, and he always talks about become the book. Do you know what I'm saying? That like many times we like to quote, people say to me all the time, bro, have you got a reference for the thing you're claiming? And it's like, go and look yourself, man. Like, look, if you can't find it, I'll give you the reference. But if you can't be bothered to find it yourself, don't come to me and say,
because it's funny you say that, because sometimes people want to be too lazy. They want you to name it. And then, where sometimes I'm listening to people. And you might be listening to someone on YouTube and you can't ask him. He's on YouTube. So then I'll just go and then research myself what he's talking about. And then depending on what type of research you're at, it'll take you further.
Exactly.
And I'll always get further into it, and I'll find this also, and then I'll find this. And then, you know, it's not researching, it's what we should be doing anyway. And unfortunately, we have to do extra research because people have robbed our ancestors of everything. You're trying to bring the health back. I'm trying to bring original indigenous things back.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, there's different ones of us, but we all can't do the one thing.
Of course.
Because we all have unique qualities. Sometimes people are looking for everybody be a sheep and do the same thing. You know, that's not how it works.
Exactly.
We meet up along the way on our paths because you're on a similar mission.
Exactly.
That's how I see it. And then obviously, you know, we normally deal with the importance of African history, as always, and that's part of original peoples. But for season 4, you know, I was dedicating for the original peoples, you know, everything from the beginning, you know, where the Andaman Islands, you got people there who, you know, how are they treated now, you know, and then you got people in the Vedas, Sri Lanka. You've got like the Southeast Asian tribes are still there. There's none left in. It's hard to find them in Vietnam. I couldn't really find none, but I believe that a lot of them are wiped out from the war times.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, of course. Even
in Cambodia and these places.
Vietnam is Vietnam Nagasaki in there? Is that Vietnam?
No, we did Nagasaki's. That's Japan, isn't it? Nagasaki.
That's Japan. Yeah.
So Vietnam. Yes.
Yeah. It would come after World War II, innit? Vietnam War, isn't it? Yeah.
The Vietnam.
But yeah, again, like obviously a lot of the Vietnamese.
Because Runoko Rashidi was saying he had a friend that married one of these women back then.
Okay.
So there was still some surviving populations then.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, well, how does a population of people who first got places become practically extinct? Because I was struggling to find them in Cambodia. I found dark-skinned people in Cambodia, but I wanted to find the original, and it was I would have to go to a place called Ratanakiri.
Okay.
But supposedly I didn't want to waste my time going there because people were saying there's none there left.
None there, yeah, okay.
So if it work out how it starts is like when I got to Thailand, that's where they seemed to begin again.
Right.
But only 300 people left the money.
Wow.
Then you moved to Malaysia, a couple of thousand.
Did you meet the money?
Yeah, I went to Money. I got there in the night time.
300. That's crazy,
I ate with them, like I was eating their vegetables with them. I didn't eat no meat.
300, man. It's like, yo, you never in a couple decades that could be none. Like the Tasmanians in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
And these are spiritual people. They'll sense your spirit when you're coming in. That's why I could go there at night time, and I had to link up with a ranger.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get no one to take me in, so someone said, I'll drive you in, but we're going to have to see this guy, this ranger, because you can't just go in the night. You're hit with the blow darts, because that's what they'll do to enemies, you know. But I got a boss response off them, and anytime I'm going to be doing more future trips, I'm going to holler at you, because you can come there with us.
We need to.
You can get on some historical, and you can check out the herb, check out all that.
Check out the foods,
you
man.
Check it all out, man.
Because it's usually in the carbs. The carbs have definitely been. So when I say the carbs, the bulk of the food has definitely been colonized. But when you look at the flavorings, when you look at the spices, the medicines there, like you've got the used by the Thai and the Indonesian, they use the kaffir lamb or the macfruit, which is the original lamb. It's the original citrus species. It's used for all kinds. It's used for hair. It's used for shampoo. It's used for skin. It's used for cleansing any mucus from the throat. That's the kaffir lamb, and kaffir is seen as a derogatory term it was used in South Africa meaning black. Yeah. So you got to think this is the black lamb. This is the black people's lamb. That's what they called it. So it's still used by people who have hardly any melanin. But the name is stuck there, do you know what I'm saying? And it's the original lamb. If you have that all the time, you'll preserve your melanin, do you know what I'm saying? Because you're cleansing all the toxins which could destroy melanin, like excess alcohol, sugar, caffeine, pollution or pollutants, carbon monoxide. All these things are destroying melanin. So it's having them foods eaten by these indigenous tribes. That's how we preserve our melanin.
That's right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And melanin is life force as well. So that's in your ear, there's melanin. In your deepest part of your eye, there's melanin.
In water, there's melanin, isn't it?
Do you know what I'm saying? It's
melanin all over the place.
Melanin exists. It's that deep darkness. You know what I'm saying? In the deep darkness of the brain, there's melanin. Do you know what I'm saying? When we lose that is when we get
dark matter.
It's that dark matter, and then when you lose that, you get that white matter or whatever else. You know what I'm saying? And you start to forget things. You know what I'm saying? So it was understanding that. Sorry, I wanted to touch, because we briefly went over Sardinia, and I wanted to touch how they have a berry, and I've spoke about it before, myrtle berry again. Okay. They have this myrtle berry, and they have it in a liqueur, and you got to understand where liqueur comes from. It is from fruits fermenting. So you have your fruit juice and you leave it for a few days, it becomes a liqueur. Leave it for a bit longer, becomes like more concentrated alcohol. Leave it further again, it becomes a vinegar. So it's that leaving of things and leaving it over time, and the vinegar becomes so vinegar that you can't be held in any container. But it's knowing the process of fruits and where we get everything from. But this myrtleberry is actually what keeps these Sardinians looking so young or feeling so young. Like they have the most people, or one of the most people living over 100. So it's recognizing this culture, where it comes from. It comes from the myrtleberries. The same Sardinians also have a flag with the 4 more heads, showing you exactly where they come from. The culture, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eating the blackberries, the original blackberry, which looks like a part of the brain. It looks like a little, or it looks like a little head. Or little head. It's like a little oval kind of berry. This is what's keeping them looking young or feeling young and being young.
Yeah.
Not the other things, not the fish and everything else. What they say it is, it's the fish. It's the original foods that they've been able to preserve and keep throughout the hundreds of years.
Wow.
Which is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
As original peoples, keeping our elders, which are our books, and our scholars. These are our scholars. These will be able to tell our stories. Keeping them young and able to preserve our culture. So no one can tell us nothing about.
That's right.
Oh, this is who we are. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm liking this anyway. Unfortunately, we'll come to the end of the show, but it's a powerful talk today,
man.
Bigging up, dedicating the original peoples, because this, anywhere in the planet, from the Americas, Pacific Islands, all over Asia, Africa, Europe. But anyway, I want to thank Mr. Yammtree, Abraham Ojapa, for coming on the show.
Yeah, man.
And peace anyway. We are here today. Season 4, Discovering with James DeBow, and special edition on original peoples, and we are here.